All right. Good morning. My name is James Shepard. This is my good friend Matt Price right here. For those of you that can see my video, yes, I did get in a time capsule and travel back to the 1970s, and that is why I'm in this room. For those of you that can see my video, you can see that there is literally shag carpet on the wall back here behind me. I am at my parents' house. So, a couple things about today. First of all, you might hear a little bit of background noise. I almost didn't share my webcam, and then I thought, why not? I'm at my parents' house. This is actually my dad's office, so I'm not even sure I'm allowed to be in here. No, but so my dad very graciously allowed me to be back here, and I have some weird lighting going on. Also, if you're listening to the podcast and you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. But I will tell you that my audio may not be quite as good. I don't have all my audio equipment and all this cool stuff going on, but I'm still really excited about it. So today's show is going to be very different. As you can see, again, I have my friend Matt Price here, and what we're going to do today, I've got maybe 4 or 5 slides, just kind of funny slides that are going to be general topics, but mainly I just wanted to let you all in on a conversation with my friend Matt, and we're going to be basically just talking about sales, and I'm really excited about it. So, we're going to go ahead and kind of dive right into it. What I want you to do, though, I really don't have a lot of content to share with you today, maybe 20, 30 minutes of stuff that Matt and I are going to basically talk about. But if you have questions, this is your opportunity to ask those questions. One of the key benefits of having Matt on the show is that Matt also has the telemarketing, telesales background as well. And that's something you could say I have a telemarketing background.
We can.
But, I was okay. It was never my strong suit. It was never a big deal to me. I've always been more the door-to-door, face-to-face guy. Matt is more, Mr. Telemarketer. So, if you have any questions or anything about that, you can certainly type those out in the question box, and Matt would be glad to answer those. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So, first of all, I have to start with this picture. I already showed Matt this, and I showed both my parents because I just love this picture. For those of you that can't see it, you have to go to youtube.com/ccsalespro if you're on the podcast. So it's like this baby. I literally don't know how you get a baby to make that facial expression. But anyway, it's this baby who is just obviously very pumped and excited. And we're talking about top salespeople. So today we're talking about top salespeople. Matt, let's start off by, first of all, I just want to establish that top salespeople actually exist.
Right? I am here to tell you they do exist. I am one of them.
Good. Okay. And so, I've worked with so many top salespeople. I was just talking to Josh Bryan the other day on the phone. You know Josh.
Yep, Josh.
I was thinking of some of the people back from the days that we worked at True Green. John Farley and Tyrone Borum and some of these guys that were really good. Now in our industry, we have all these top salespeople that I've been able to to work with. So what I wanted to do is start out with, I thought was a really good way to start. So Matt and I were just talking a minute ago. Matt was actually out in the field full-time for a week 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? And Matt was telling me about his experience. You have to speak up a little bit because I don't have the mic and all that. Back. Yeah, there you go. So Matt, tell us, so first of all, out in the field for a week, you got 10 quality contacts.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So why don't you break down what happened with those 10 contacts for everybody to kind of give them a feel? Because I know a lot of reps ask me all the time, so I'm out in the field. What's going to happen, what as a top rep, what am I going to experience out in the field? So break down those 10 contacts for us and what happened with them.
Well, 3 of them were actually closed. So 10 contacts, 3 deals closed. So that's at a 30% closing ratio. A lot of the new agents that I've worked with are well below that.
Right.
Probably about 10 to 15%. So it is possible to get up to that plateau, if you will. And even higher than that. I've closed more than that out of 10 contacts before.
Well, plus too, that's your the 30% rate. That would be a really, really good initial close rate. In other words, right? You made those 10 contacts that week.
Exactly.
And you closed 3 of them that week.
Exactly.
Right.
So this isn't a long drawn out. I need to stop back 4 and 5 times to actually close the sale. It was a cut and dry situation. I was able to save the merchants quite a bit of money. One of them was in a contract, the other 2 were not, and I'm going to talk a little bit about merchants that are in contract here.
Go ahead and tell us about that. So if a merchant's in a contract, what do you say to get that one?
See, well, before I say what I say, let me explain something to you guys that a lot of agents do not understand. What happens when a merchant unplugs their equipment from their current processor? That does not cancel the account, and they do not have to pay any termination fees for that. all that happens is they unplug their equipment and they set it on the shelf for the remainder of their contract. What's going to happen is each processor has their own monthly fees, which I'm sure you're all aware of, their monthly service and statement fee, their PCI fee, the monthly minimum. You got to watch the monthly minimum because when they're not processing, they're obviously going to get charged at the monthly minimum. So you're looking at all the monthly fees the processors usually charge. Depending on the processor, they go between $30 and $60 usually. So what happens if a merchant has a contract and they're in it for another 6 months? Well, they're going to get charged probably about $300 in fees if you take 50 times 30 or
too early in the morning.
Woo! 50 times 6 is 300, so that's $300. Now, a perfect case in point is one of the merchants that I closed. I'm saving him $300 a month. So doesn't it kind of make sense for that guy to pay the $30, $50, $60, whatever it is for the next 6 months to save that $300 a month? Of course it does, and that's exactly how you present it to the merchant. So exactly what I said was I presented him the savings. We're able to save you about $3,600 a year, and that's what I always go with. Obviously, go with the higher number when you're presenting savings. And then he proceeded to tell me that he was in a contract. So all I did was educate him right there. I didn't have to sell him. I didn't have to rebuttal him. All I had to do was educate him because it was a no-brainer decision.
Yeah. Awesome. So we got 3 sales. So the other point I was making earlier, too, is so if you were still out full-time, say for the 3 weeks since then or 2 weeks since then, you'd also maybe even make another, what do you think, 1 or 2 sales from the pipeline of people, to follow up on that you weren't able to close that week.
Now, out of those 10, I closed 3. There's 2 of them, however, that I couldn't show any savings. But one in particular is a restaurant who is using a credit card terminal. And that is obviously, that's a pretty easy point-of-sale system sell if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you've sold point-of-sale systems before. So that's another one in the pipeline that can very easily match his rates and still make a good profit from him, as well as get the point-of-sale system.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we talk about and the reason I brought that up is because when I talk to top reps, it seems like the closing ratio, if you look at somebody out full-time for, let's say, a month, usually ends up being around that 50%. Like it's like 30% up front,
yep.
And then it's another, 10%, 20% as far as follow-up, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And there's one guy, Jeff Sosimo's Pizza. If you guys have ever, if you're from around here or have ever heard of one, they're a larger pizza franchise around here. And most all of them have tremendous, tremendous rates. They're usually only paying a transaction fee above interchange. And I talked to this guy about 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
And he's at 10 cents above interchange.
Yeah.
He does almost 4,000 transactions a month. So really quick, that's $400 in fees above interchange. That's all profit.
Right.
So very easy to save the guy money.
Profit, right?
Yeah, depending upon your schedule.
Yeah.
But either way, there's definitely quite a bit of profit in there.
It's a $250 gross margin with most companies, I would say, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So I can save this guy a lot of money, but he won't talk to me. He's too busy. Every time I walk in there, he tells me he's going to send me over the agreement, yada yada yada. So what do you do with guys like that?
Me? Asking me? Oh, I do the same thing every time. I walk in, and after it's been a little while, like say this guy, like let's say how much. Well, so this guy, how much are you going to save him? Like let's say it's
about $200 a month.
$200 a month.
$2,400
a year, right?
Yeah.
So here's what I do. I always walk in and I shake their hand and I say, hey, you know what? It turns out the processing company you're with made an error in your favor, and I want to cut you a check for $2,400 today. And that always just grabs their attention, like, what? And I'm like, I want to cut you a check for $2,400 today. Can you talk to me for a minute? And I won't tell them anything else about it, And then it's so funny, And then when they sit down, and I've had it backfire a few times where people are like, whatever. But I'm just really open and honest. And then when I actually sit down, I just say, hey, let me let you in a little secret. Good news and bad news. Okay.
I'm not going to write you a check for $2,400.
Yeah. Here, the good news is I am going to give you $2,400 today. Now, as you know in business, right? $1 today is $1, in a year. I mean, it's, whatever. So we're going to get you $2,400 in savings this year because the current company that you're with, they're charging you way too much money, and I'm going to cut it. It's really simple math. I'm going to take you from 10 cents to 8 cents or whatever it is, and that's going to save you $2,400 a year. I'll tell you the other thing that you said earlier that kind of sparked something is the one thing I started doing that's so funny is I do the 3-year.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of doing 1 year, here's what I say. I say, Mr. Jones, I will tell you that my average client stays with me for a long time, but let's just take the industry average, The industry average stays about 3 years. That's about how long the industry average. Now, I believe you're going to love me and you're never going to leave me and all that, right? But, about 3 years is the average. So, it turns out, so let's say I'm saving him $200 a month like this guy, $2,400. So now we're at $7,200. So I say, so the great news is partnering with me, basically I'm going to be cutting you a check for $7,200. That's basically what it equates to because it's going to drop right to your bottom line. So I don't know. I think the bigger the number, the better. I don't know.
And then the next big advice, the best advice that I have for guys like that, don't be afraid to walk away.
Yeah.
Don't
waste your time. Move on.
The time that you spend trying to convert that one account, you probably could have went out and got 2 others.
Yeah.
So if you're just running into a brick wall and you can't seem to get this merchant on board, walk away. Come back 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Come back 3 months from now.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the meantime, one of the things you can do, we talked about last week a little bit, was we're talking about social media last week. What I do in that case, right, is, and that's why I like the line about I'm going to cut you a check, because it's like, I want to get to the point. You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't like that, and that's a little too gimmicky for him. And then we sit down and he's like, screw you. Why'd you say that? And that's fine. But at least I came to I'm done. Now let's go to the next one. Or maybe he says, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I get it. And then it's like, okay, now we sign him up. So I like that. I think it's you move on. But if you have to move on and you feel like you still have this guy, find him on LinkedIn, find him on Twitter, find him on Facebook, and at once a month, you have him on a list, and once a month just ping him with, hey, I saw this article about pizza shops, and I thought you would really enjoy this. It's from some, you're not asking him for anything. It's just, hey, I saw this, I thought about you, or you find out he the other thing cool is you go on their social media and you find out that actually they're into World War II memorabilia. You know what I mean? So you find something and you send it to him, or you call, so to me, I think connecting with him that way over the long haul. But yeah, it's like you got to protect that prospecting time for people that want to talk to you.
And guys, here's another good point to James is if you were on the CC Sales Pro show last week, he was talking about social media and how to use that. And even as a top agent, I still have a lot to learn when it comes to social media and how to nurture those, nurture the merchants in my area. So next thing, what it takes to be a top agent is one of our core values, always learning.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
A little bit of tidbit for you.
So let's talk about the other. So we have the 3 you sold, we have the 2 that you might sell point of sale, the other 5. Just because I think one of the important things about talking to salespeople is to help them understand that you don't sell everybody.
No, not at all.
Right? There's people that tell you no, and then you move on. So what happened with those 5? Give us like a general idea of what happened and why you felt like those 5 better to move on and sell the other 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind, some of these were actually appointments that I self-generated. So I actually called people over the phone to set an appointment. And when you do that, one of the main things that I always obviously try to get is make sure I'm speaking with a manager or the owner, and that they're going to have a statement ready when I get there. I'm going to take about 5 or 10 minutes and walk them through their statement. So when I got there on 2 of the accounts, there was just a manager that I was speaking with, who really didn't have the decision-making power that I was looking for. The owner is they're in their corporate office,
right?
And those are difficult ones to get to convert sometimes. So
yeah.
This is actually one of those things where I would like to learn more about social media.
Yeah,
and how
to use that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
so
how
powerful.
to get in touch with them because the manager is just not helping me.
Right.
He can.
Right.
I don't like to trust other people to get my message across.
Right.
To the decision maker.
Right.
So that's another reason I'm really interested in social media is how to overcome those kind of things, because when they're at corporate offices.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll tell you something. One thing that I've seen that is, and this is funny. I had a sales rep, not a sales rep, but a guy who's trying to sell me something do this just the other day, and I used to do this all the time. So effective. Take out your, you guys all have these smartphones. We have these things. these take the quality of video, right? From the rear facing camera on your phone is 10 times better than when I started making YouTube videos publicly. You know what I mean? 10 times better. So what you do is, you've got somebody you want to get in contact with, you can't get in contact with them, guess what you do? Pull out your iPhone and record a video of what you want to tell them, upload it to YouTube as an unlisted video. So on YouTube, an unlisted video means nobody can see it unless they have the link. But if you share the link with them, they can watch it, right? Get the video to them. Find them on Twitter and tag them and say, hey, I just shot a video for you after talking to your manager, Bill. And a link like to them. Hey, Bob, man, I'm sorry I wasn't, hey, Susan, sorry I wasn't able to catch up with you. I just want to make you a video to let you know. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
That is brilliant.
And it takes literally like 2 minutes. And people love it. Or, if you can get a lot, I'll tell you something else. A lot of you can probably connect to this. How many times does somebody say, oh, well, you're never going to contact with the owner. I'll give you their email. That's the way to blow you off.
I have both of their emails.
There you go. You take that video, and here's what you do. I'll give you here's your little hack for the day, okay? So everybody, you can take a little note here. I used to do this all the time. I'm telling you, this gets 100% response rate. What you do is, you go onto YouTube, so you upload your video, right, to YouTube. Pull it up in full screen on your computer, pause it, and take a screenshot of it, okay? Now you have a picture of your video, okay? Now you can go into an email client, and you can put that picture of the video, so when they open the email, what they see is this picture of you, and the title of the video, and the title of the video has to have their full name in it. So it catches their attention, like, hey, Susan Radowski. That's like the title of the video. Introduction to Susan Radowski. And you're like, hey, I made a video just for you. Click here to watch it. So it grabs their attention, and it's a way for you to get your pitch.
Yeah, how many merchants have had a personalized video message sent to them?
Never. This is crazy. How many merchants have had, on Twitter, have had somebody mention them in the last year on Twitter? I mean, 1 out of every 10 has had like 2 or 3.
I would say below 10%.
Right? And they have this Twitter account, and they hate it because they feel like I get nothing out of it. They probably don't even know that whenever they get an mention that they get an email to their inbox, right? And all of a sudden, here you mention them. Not with just anything, with a link to a video for them. And they're like, oh. And you're like, hey, I just wanted to send you a video for 2 reasons. 1, love your pizza shop. If you want a testimonial, I'll shoot one for you. It's awesome. I'd love to do that anytime. Hey, the other thing, though, I came by. I talked to Bill. It's like that video. Anyway, there's your hack for the day.
I love it.
Anyway, so a couple of them, really, you wouldn't even say that was necessarily a quality contact per se. You really didn't even get a hold of the right person.
No. I did, however, get to view their statement.
Okay.
The manager did have access to that, but they were not the decision makers.
Right.
So,
right.
And that's another thing what I found. Do never let a manager pitch your closing for you.
Yeah, no.
So, like James said, that's a fantastic idea. I can't wait to actually try that and see what kind of contact I get from these merchants.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna move along because we're gonna end up talking forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually have all these different things I was gonna talk about here. So we'll kind of move along. I'll get some tips from Matt because you guys can hear me pontificate anytime just follow me on Snapchat all day long. So I love this.
I love it.
Right.
Too.
Coffee is for closers. Put down the coffee. Coffee is for closers. Anyway, Glengarry Glen Ross. So Matt, talk about closing. What is your kind of personal commitment? See, I don't know if you struggle. I struggle with this as far as like people, I want them to like me.
Yeah.
Right? And so then a lot of times I'm like, I don't want to close. They might say no. But I have this personal commitment that I close twice. Like, I will not leave a business until I've tried to close twice.
Yeah.
Is that your experience? What do you do?
Absolutely. Okay. If you don't close twice, it's easy to tell somebody no once.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Absolutely.
When they're persistent, and this is kind of not just persistency. I can't even talk to that.
Persistence.
Persistence. But be consistent, not just with your closings, but one of the biggest things it takes to be a top agent is being consistent and knowing that closing. Sometimes you don't get it on the first close. You don't get it on the first try.
Yeah.
But again, you're not the first person to stop in there.
Right.
So I think a lot of merchants have a natural defense against you on the first try.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've been,
Right.
Again, you're not the first person
Yeah.
in there. So
Yeah.
I always like to try twice, like James said.
Isn't it interesting? I wish I could remember the name of this rep. I had this rep a long time ago when we were doing door-to-door sales, lawn care sales, and he was terrible. I mean, terrible. I was going to fire him. And this was back when it was like employee salespeople, so I was going to fire this kid. He was probably like, I don't know, 19, 20 years old. And so one day I had this, meeting with him, and I was like, he's like, what's my problem or whatever? And I'm like, honestly, man, like, I'm like really brutally honest with people. You know this about me. And so I'm like, honestly, man, you come across really weird and you don't close, Well, he figured out that he couldn't fix the fact that he came across a little weird, but he could close. So this guy, like that day, he got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 sales. I'm like, whoa, So I go out in the field with him, and I mean, I literally had to like calm him down a little bit, from his. But I'll tell you what I found is the thing that differentiates top salespeople from average and below average isn't necessarily that they have these magical closing lines.
No.
Right? They close.
Yeah. They ask for the business.
They ask for the business. It's like, what's your closing line? I use one. Like, that's the secret.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, how many are there?
You're right. You're right. Have I earned your business? With your permission, I'm going to move forward.
Exactly.
How do you spell your last name?
It's not a closing line to say, okay, I'm going to save you $3,600 annually. There's no contracts, no termination fees. What kind of terminal would you like? Are you EMV compliant? Are you accepting smart cards? All right, let me get you one. Which one do you want?
Right. You're just moving forward with this conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So always be closing. ABCs. Okay. All right, let's talk about first impressions, another kind of thing here. So, how important do you believe that first kind of like 5-10 seconds of walking into a business and interacting, how important is that first 5 or 10 seconds, and how do you
I think it's the most important interaction you're going to have with them, because you literally have 5, maybe 15 seconds to capture their attention.
Yeah. What do you do when you walk in? I mean, what's it like? What do you do normally?
Well, a lot of things. Okay, let's look at it this way. If you're an inexperienced rep and you have kind of a lack of confidence, and you're walking into a merchant and you're mumbling, you don't know what you're going to say, you're kind of stammering through your pitch, how well do you think that's going to capture the merchant's attention?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
When you walk in confident and say, hey, James, my name's Matt Price. I'm here with the Transaction Expert. I run a local agency here called Transaction Expert. Wanted to stop in and find out who you guys are using for your credit card processing.
Right.
He's either going to give me the answer or not.
Yeah. It's like the confidence is what you're saying.
Exactly. It's the confidence. It's the way it's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it.
Yeah.
I was just working with an agent the other day, and she knows several different businesses in her local area that she's been working with for the last 30 years. And she was trying to get a processing statement from them, and they kept telling her, yeah, we'll send that over. Yeah, we'll send that over. And nobody has ever sent anything over.
Right.
And the first question I asked her was, well, how did you ask them? Well, I just kind of, I sent them an email. I told them, I was doing merchant services now, and told them, I'd like to take a look at their statement. And when they got a chance, if they could just shoot that over to me, I'd do a cost analysis. And they said it was okay, that they would, but they never did. And one of the biggest things that she did, you could tell when I was talking to her, she was very unconfident.
Yeah, she really has it, and she didn't want to mess up her personal brand.
Exactly.
By getting it mixed up in something she didn't understand.
Exactly.
She didn't want to look stupid.
So, and it even happens, I've talked to agents that have tried to get a processing statement from their friends.
Right.
But they ask so timidly and so cautiously, and so, like they're scared that they're going to mess something up.
Yeah.
And guys, you got to get over that.
Yeah.
That's why you have help with your processors. That's why you have CC Sales Pro. That's why you have people that can help you through those kind of things. But you've got
But you know what, though?
to present yourself.
Even with all that help, and I tell reps this all the time, you're going to look like an idiot the first 10 times you do it.
Yeah, you're going to. I mean, and that's why we recommend don't going after friends or people.
Exactly. Yeah. Cold call, walk into a business, and look, it's funny. I was just talking to my wife, Christina. We were driving here, and she was kind of giving me this motivational talk because I am determined to eventually shoot video of me selling, right? But I'm like, I'm going to look stupid. And, she's kind of like, well, kind of like that's never stopped you before, Like, okay, I get it. But, it's like, really, what am I worried about? So I'm going to walk in and some business owner is going to say, I'm not comfortable with that. And then I'll say, okay. You know what I mean? Like, what is stopping me from doing that? And so it's like, I think for a lot of people, sales to them walking into the business is the same as it is for me with the video. Like, I'm nervous about somebody videoing me while I walk in and sell, but I know it'd be awesome content. Now walking in and talking to somebody, I got over that a long time ago, but I'll tell you, my first few cold calls I ever made as a sales rep, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I've talked to, how many agents where a guy literally told me that he opened the door to his car, set his feet down on the pavement, and just froze.
Yeah.
And sat there and started crying.
Oh,
he was so nervous.
Yeah, I believe it.
Guys, they're just people. Just walk up and talk to them just like you would anybody else.
But, and you know what? You got to lower the expectation. In other words, your expectation has to be, I'm going to go in there and give the best pitch I can, and they're probably going to say no. And that's okay, because your first 10 contacts, it's not about making a sale. It's not about getting a statement. It's about you going in there and making a confident presentation.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Honing your pitch, knowing what you're going to say. I've had a lot of people tell me that you can't control what a merchant is going to say or how they're going to respond. And I'm here to tell you, yes, you can.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, what? Yeah.
It's, a lot of the objections that you get out in the field can be avoided by just simply how you present yourself and what you say. If there's only so many objections a merchant is going to give you, and when you learn them all and you learn how to overcome them, not even overcome them, when you learn how to eliminate them before they even come up, you are in full control of that conversation and full control of what that merchant's going to say. And that's honestly, I think that's the biggest tip that I can give you, is get confident in your knowledge of the industry to where you know what that merchant is going to say. You know what they're going to say after what you say, because you are controlling the conversation. Again, there's only so many objections, so many things that they're going to tell you, and you need to master them. That's how you become a top agent. Yeah.
And by the way, on that note, I'll take one little plug. I don't know why I plug, it's free, but on our website, ccsalespro.com, I'll send a link out probably next week. Ben is on here listening. And Ben, I think this is done. Ben can put in the question box, let me know if it's not done. But sometime next week at least, we're going to have our online testing done for each of our 5 video courses. So for those of you that are like, oh, did I miss this video? Did I miss? Okay, go through and each course, take a test.
Yeah.
And if you pass the test, you're like, okay, I got it. Next course, So we've made this thanks to Amy, my personal assistant, who literally watched all these videos like a million times to make these questions. And so I'm excited about it. So it does like an online grading and everything. It's pretty cool. So I think that'll really be nice. But yeah, so for those of you that can see the slides here, I put a slide up of this very miserable looking salesperson who has all these phones up to his ear, and the caption is cold calling. So this is how I feel about selling on the phone, right? But let me just say a couple things about it. So number one, I think there may be a disconnect between the idea of selling over the phone and calling to schedule appointments over the phone.
There's a very big disconnect.
Which I did all the time. I always, called to schedule appointment. If it was raining outside and I'm like, it's pouring rain, it's hailing, there's a foot of snow, I'm not going to go out and walk into businesses in a mini mall. I'm going to sit at home on my butt, and I'm going to do cold calls all day long, and I'm going to do the social media stuff I talked about last week, but I'm going to generate leads that way. So you are many times better at this than I am, and I know you just got a new pitch.
I did.
Right? So can you share whatever you can of that and kind of how that process works? So what we're talking about is, so let's get the other 2 out of the way real quick first. Okay, so we have 3 models we're talking about, right? Model number 1, go out in the field, find a street that's got a bunch of businesses and walk into every street on that business. It's very simple. Don't waste your time with any targeting of any kind. You just pick a street and you walk in every business on the street. That is guaranteed to work.
Yeah.
It is. The problem with it is a lot of sales reps won't do it.
No.
They absolutely will not do it. Now, I personally, me inside on the phone versus me walking down a street, that's a no-brainer. But a lot of reps, it's like, no way, I want to be on the phone.
And that's exactly.
That's how you are.
Now, I will tell you that, especially when you first get started in the industry, if you guys are newer to the industry, go out and beat the pavement. because that's the most crucial education period you're going to go through, is learning what you're going to face out in the field, because the same things that you face in person are the same things you're going to face over the phone. And to be honest with you, if you can't deal with them in person, you're more than likely not going to be able to deal with them over the phone. It's a different ball game. It takes more to capture a merchant's attention over the phone, and that's why actually closing deals over the phone can be very difficult. I know many successful people that have done it. I've personally been successful at doing it, but it takes at doing it. But there's a very specific way you have to, and it does take an investment.
Right.
In money. It's not just it's not as easy as just walking into a business.
Right.
It takes a
game plan. A lot more organization, a lot more strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah, you really got to think through it. I mean, really, I think the takeaway there is you have beat the pavement, walk into businesses. That's if you're new to the industry. Mm-hmm. And it's also just a proven strategy if you prefer to be out like I do. I prefer to be out face-to-face versus over the phone. On the other extreme, you have calling and closing people on the phone, which is so difficult, in my opinion, that if you want to do it, if you're on this webinar and you want to do that, I'm going to probably recommend you go over to Matt and become Matt's sub-agent. Seriously, because you can join his team and work with him. Whether I make money off it or not, I could care less, because you're with me and you're on the phone all day closing people, you're probably not going to get a lot out of my Snapchat, out of my content, because I'm like, you're nuts. I'm not going to do that. So I think that's where you would come in. So let's leave that one off the side as well. So now let's talk about that model that's in the middle there.
And there's kind of two in the middle. There's one of the biggest things that you have to do to become a top agent is not just having goals, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, but having a game plan. And if you're going to do this business on the phone, you need to have not a game plan, a business plan, because that's exactly what you are running. Yeah. It is your business. So there's two ways you can do it. If I've worked with a lot of reps that some of them are handicapped, or they have some kind of physical ailment where they can't get out in the field and they can't go see 20 businesses a day. It's just not physically possible for them. So what does an agent like that do? I've worked with a lot of people that have very good phone skills. But again, cold calling on the phone is not going to close deals. You're not going to cold call on the phone and close deals. So what do? You set yourself appointments. It's very realistic for you to spend 2 to 4 hours a day on the phone and set yourself 3 to 4 appointments a day. Right. If you have the right script and if you know what you're doing. So 3 to 4 appointments a day, you're talking to 15, 20 merchants a week. And
again, the big variable when you talked about the two different kind of ones in the middle, the variable here is defining an appointment. Yeah. Right? So let me say how I used to do it, because now you're going to give the other way, right? So the way, and in fact, I have a video on YouTube. You can go to on YouTube. You could search for CC Sales Pro. I think it's CC Sales Pro appointment, and you'd see the video there. And my philosophy was, because I wanted to be out in the field as much as possible, so I wanted to be on the phone for an hour, and I wanted to set 10 appointments. So my philosophy was just anybody I talked to, that was an excuse. When's the owner going to be there? What's the owner's name? If I have the owner's name and when they're going to be there, I'm out in the field. I go to that appointment. So that's a quote-unquote appointment for me. Really, it's just a contact. I'm just trying to get a contact. Sure. Now, on the other side of it, though, is actually generating legitimate appointments. Exactly. And that's what you're going to describe today.
So we got to first sit back and think about, what is our main goal when we talk to a merchant? Well, obviously, the main goal is to get a statement. So if you want an actual appointment, something that is probably going to pay off more than just having the business owner's name, I always verify 3 things before I get off the phone with them. 1, if they're a manager or an owner that I'm speaking with, because obviously I want to talk to a decision maker. The very next thing, and if they don't say that it's going to be there and it's going to be ready, I don't go to the appointment, because I'm just spinning my wheels. But I verify that they're going to have a processing statement with them, because that's my main goal when I go meet them. I want to look at their statement. I want to take that thing and I want to go do a cost analysis, or do one on the spot if you're that savvy.
Or if it's 8 weeks from now and you have our new web app, which will do it for you. But exactly. We'll talk about that later.
Exactly. And then the third thing I verify, I want to make sure that I know where I'm going. A lot of the times you look up information on Google or however you get your information. I use InfoUSA to get a lot of leads and call through those. But some of that information is incorrect. So just make sure that you have the correct address. And then you go to the appointment. They're going to have a statement there waiting for you. That's an appointment to me.
Now, how do you get that, though? 'Cause that's the $1 million question, Matt.
That you will have to sign up for my course for, because I'm not going to tell it.
Good. All right. Well, that's good. So what we want to do is, though, because, see, the key thing here is, for those of you that are on the phone, and you're like, so if they want to do this, what do you want to do? Are you going to put together a course like that?
I'm putting together a course. It's probably going to take me about 2 to 3 weeks to put everything together.
Okay.
This is something that I just showed up about 10 minutes before the meeting. And
Me and Matt were just talking about it.
We hadn't got that far into the conversation yet, but I am indeed putting together a course available. That'll be available.
So let me just say, as soon as that course is done, CC Sales Pro obviously will be distributing and promoting that for people to come and take your course. And so I think that's really important. But so the idea here is, though, and I think the big takeaway from this is, you talk about the game plan. The big takeaway for me is, if you're going to do this over the phone and schedule appointments, you've got to have a game plan. I think a good starting point might be my pitch, which is you're going to get appointments if you use my pitch. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. You're going to get, because the whole idea behind the appointment is really just an excuse to go into the business.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because when you walk into the business cold turkey off the street, it is harder sometimes because you did just walk in off the street. Whereas if you can walk in and say, hey, I spoke to Susan yesterday, is Bill here? That's just a lot better pitch, when you're walking in. So that's a really good one. And then the idea is, if you want to get to the point where you're actually setting a legitimate appointments where they have a statement ready and all that, let's just summarize by saying it takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of practice, and it's something that needs to be learned. It can be learned.
It very much can be learned. And know your industry. Know what's happening in your industry, because this industry is always growing. It's always changing. And if you're in touch with what's going on, you're always going to have, I don't want to use the word gimmick, but
hook.
You're always going to have a hook.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To get your foot in the door, because you're the only way that the merchants know anything that's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
How many merchants read their processing statement or read the emails from the processor to find out what's going on?
And I'll tell you, one of the best things you can do for those of you that are listening to that and are saying, well, how do I keep up to date on what's going on in the industry? I would recommend that you do something right now while we're on here. Go to news.google.com, and you can set up a custom filter where it's going to send you a news alert on a weekly basis. Set up a news alert for the words, one for interchange, set up another one for the word EMV, set up another one for the word payments, okay? You can maybe even do one for payment processors. And what will happen is, every week you're going to get an email with all the news stories from the week that talked about EMV or interchange or payments or payment processing. So, Google News Alerts, I think, is a great way to kind of stay up to date on what's going on. Like, people are always asking me all the time, other CEOs of other processing companies, I'm telling them about, hey, this legislation, they don't even know about this legislation. I'm like, it's going to dramatically impact your business, and interchange is going to, these are big, and it's like, where did you hear that? On Google News. I get an alert every week, and I read every single story about, I have a bunch of other ones as well, but that's how I consume news. To be honest, as much as I'm sad about the kidnapping or the murder that took place 17 hours from where I live, I don't really understand how it's productive for me to know that information. So I don't really watch the news. I could care less about all of that.
Same here.
Right? I'm too busy to do that. So instead what I do is I target the news to say, I do want the news, but I want the news that's relevant to me. So what are the things I care about? And that's why I use Google News Alerts.
Well, and it's funny that James mentioned interchange, EMV, and different things like that, because I have pitches. Using, right? Yeah, I have pitches for every single one of those. Another good one that I'm currently using is the Amex Op Blue.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Very, very good one to get your foot in the door, because it's, again, the appointment setting process is really about a 2-minute call, 2 to 3 minute call. It's a very, very quick pitch, and you do not give the merchants a lot of information. It's just basically verifying that they're going to have what you want there and telling them you're going to stop by.
Yeah, the assumption.
It's a very assumptive pitch.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about building it and creating it. And I know you guys will enjoy it as well.
Awesome. Hey, let's get into some questions. So we're done with the content side of it right now. It's 10:43. I was planning on being done about 10:45. What questions do you have? I'll go through the ones that are already on here. Oh wow, we already have the link for the training. That's cool. And by the way, don't leave yet. I have a contest. I'm going to give you a contest in just a minute, okay? So you're going to want to stick around. Let me answer a couple questions real quick. Let's see here. How do you handle a merchant when you present the proposal? They say, well, I'm going to take this to the bank. They always say they take it to their bank. Oh, for the other person to match it. I've actually talked about this one before, so I'll let. What do you do anything different? Have you heard mine where I do the thing about?
I do the same exact one that James does.
Go ahead, do it.
You know, if they're going to take it to the merchant, how long have you been with that bank for one thing?
I've been with them about 3 years.
Okay, you've been with them 3 years. So you've been paying, 3 years, I'm saving you $3,600 a year. That is
over $10,000.
Over $10,000. So now, and this isn't just the Jeff Sosimo's guy that I was talking about. When I first walked in and spoke with him, this is exactly what I got as well. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, go ahead. So you're saving $10,000.
It just, okay. So we're saving him $10,000. He asked me to give him, or first of all, he didn't want to give me his statement.
Right.
Because he didn't
want to share that information.
Not that he didn't want to share the information. He didn't want to tell me what he was paying because he was afraid that I was just going to come in.
He wanted your best rate.
Exactly. That I was just going to come in and beat whatever he's got. So he wanted my best rate.
Right.
So I gave him to him.
That's what I do. I do the same thing. Reps ask me that all the time. What do you do when somebody asks you what your rates are? Tell them.
You want to know why? They have no clue what it means.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're going to get it and be like, oh, okay. And then they're just like, and you're like, now that, but I always predicated on, I tell you what I'll do. I will just give you my rates right now, my lowest rate, as long as you promise me you're going to let me take a look at the statement after I've given it to you, right? So that I can compare, because I'm going to give you these rates. You're not going to have any idea. Like, let's say somebody runs like a barber shop, right? I'll tell them, I'll say, look, if you had a customer that came in right now and asked for a haircut, you don't want me cutting their hair, because believe me, I mean, they're going to have bald spots. Like, it's going to look terrible. I don't know how to cut hair, right? You don't know how to read a credit card processing statement. I do. It's my business. So I'll share my rates with you, but I want to actually put that in context as to what you're paying now and compare them. So if I give you my lowest rates on paper in writing, I'm sure you would agree that I could at least take a look at your statement to compare it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, I did something a little different with this guy, though.
Go ahead.
That is usually how I did it.
Yeah.
But when he looked at me, I don't know, something kind of set me off when he asked me about it with this particular merchant.
Right.
So when he looked at me and said that, I said, you know what? I would give you those rates. But you know what happens? Usually when I give those rates, most merchants will take it to their current processor and they'll say, listen, this guy is offering me this. What are you going to do to beat it?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going to play that game with you. And he said, well, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do that. I mean, if you're honest with me and you give me your best rates, I'm not going to do that. I said, then fine, we can work together. Let's look at your statement.
Love that. And see, the thing about that is, I think so many reps probably hear that and they're like, oh my, I could never say that. Because of the confidence and the way that you say that, right? And I don't know how many times, a lot of my pitch I have a hard time explaining to reps, because a lot of times I say stuff where I'm like, if they said that, they probably get kicked out of the store. I can't tell you how many times I've said to business owners, like, seriously, in my pitch, they'll tell me something and I'll say, that doesn't even make any sense. Or something where, I mean, if a new rep, and I'll have reps with me sometimes, and they are like, I can feel them like, like starting to sweat a little bit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. I'm trying to cut you a check here for $3,000, and you're telling me you need to wait? If I was handing you a check for $3,000 right now, and I said all you need to do is sign the back, oh, by the way, this is a great line. I don't have ever shared this line. I just realized this is a great line, right? Here's what I do. I say, Matt, if I had a check here for $3,000 to you, and all you had to do was endorse it, would you do that?
Well, what's the catch?
No catch. If you endorse this check, it's worth $3,000. Are you going to sign the check or not?
Of course I would.
Of course you are. Great. So with your permission, I'm going to go and get the paperwork going.
Do I have to pay this money back?
No.
Am I locked into some kind of contract?
Absolutely not. Nothing.
Do I have to sell you my firstborn?
No. Now, with that in mind, Matt, with your permission, let's endorse this paperwork just like you'd endorse that check, and it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to drop $3,000 to your bottom line, and I know you're smart enough businessman to understand what I'm talking about, right? So you tell them something, then you give them this compliment that they have to say. You're a smart enough guy to understand what I'm talking about, right? Oh, of course I understand what you're talking about.
Say, no.
Great, then sign right here. You know?
No, I'm a dummy.
Yeah. Anyway, enough time on that. That was a good one, though. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, everybody, are you ready for this? Ready? Here we go. I'll put it in the chat box. ccsalespro.com/certification. You think you know a lot about credit card processing? Go find out if you really do. Let's see here. ccsalespro.com/certification. Certification. There you go. My business partner, Ben Shirey, just shared that little link there. So go take some tests and see how good you really are. Am I correct that you feel that being in the field is much more productive than email and phone sales? So Debbie, I think it depends on the individual person. I am a lot more productive in the field than I am on the phone and things like that. Now, I will say the social media, for me, social media is the way that I live. It's not even like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like sales.
It is hard to describe. I've told a lot of people that to be successful in this business, you have to live it.
I have a fax machine here, and it is ringing. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop. Did you get it? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Oh, there we go. All right. And for those of you that missed the beginning, I'm in my dad's office back here, so I think I just canceled a fax. Whoops. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, so, yeah. So for me, it's more productive. But, again, social media and sales, it's like the way that I live. I'm a salesman all the time. Drives my wife crazy. You know, like, honey, do you want to go to Chili's or do you want to go to Red Lobster today? Neither. Oh, well, I tried the alternate advance, right? My kids, Donnie, son, do you want to go to bed right now, or do you want to stay up and play for 10 minutes before you go to bed? Like, I don't want to go to bed, Daddy. But it doesn't really work.
And what? I love that we're talking about this because James is a very passionate person. He's also, that passion has led him to be very good at what he does. There's some agents that are in this industry that aren't passionate about the industry, and that's fine. Guess what? You don't have to be passionate about credit card processing to be successful. What you do need is a solid, rock solid business plan.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you need is to go do it.
You gotta be, and it's like we talked about a minute ago. And that, for those of you that are not following me on Snapchat, I talked about this yesterday. You've got to be passionate about your business.
Exactly.
To be really honest, and we've talked about this, Matt, I can care less about credit card processing. I can care less about merchant services. I don't care about that at all. I really don't. People don't understand that about me. They think like, oh, I'm the credit card guy. I can care less about credit card processing. The thing that I care about is I'm passionate about my business and my vision for growth, and I'm passionate about small business owners. Yeah. I love talking to small business owners. I love saving them money. I love educating them about their business and how they can improve it. So that's my passion, which is good because guess what? Small business owners could care less about credit card processing too. Yeah. But when they meet me and I'm so passionate about the business, my business, their business, and it's like, hey, you know what? This is a no-brainer. I'm going to save you some money. They're like, okay, great. Sign me up.
Well, and kind of the reason that I brought that up is the reason James is good in the field, the reason I'm good in the field, the reason we're good on the phone is because, again, we're not necessarily passionate about credit card processing, but we are passionate. We're passionate about the things we're passionate about our business. When you're passionate about something and you are speaking to merchants, they feel that and they sense that. And that's one of the biggest reasons we have the confidence that we need. It's not just about industry knowledge. We're passionate about what we do. Again, I'm not passionate about credit card processing, but I know that it is going to lead me and allow me to do the things that I am passionate about.
Yeah.
So I am very passionate when I am out on the field because I know that what I am doing is going to lead me to my game plan and my goal to be able to meet that and do, obviously most of us got in this industry for the residual income. I think it's safe to say that if I asked you, if we took a poll right now, why you got into merchant services, every single one of you would type in the residual income.
Right.
Okay. The reason is that because it gives us financial freedom.
Yeah, it's a pathway to something.
We're able to, to build up our income, unlike any other industry that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it is easy to get excited about credit card processing.
Yeah.
See, there's a difference in passion and excitement. Credit card processing excites me. Helping business owners excites me. It's not necessarily my passion, though. But I'm excited about it, and I'm good at it. And that is portrayed through my pitch and people can feel that. They can sense it over the phone and in person.
Right. And business owners, small business owners are very passionate about their business. And I think, and I talked about this on Snapchat yesterday about how I said the size of your vision will directly relate to the size of your motivation.
Yeah.
Right? Because, for me, and Ben's on here, Ben will tell you, I plan to rule the world someday. I have a very big vision, and that's my motivation. And so, business owners like the fact that I'm passionate about my business, and they can identify and relate to that. So, all right, we better move on here. What about when you're waiting for your contract to end that you've been with for 3 years and you signed up for auto renewal? Let's see here. Is this really Jeff Gump, my uncle? What's up, Jeff? Let's see here. Jeff, I would say that you have been ripped off in this situation, and I would say that you should talk to my good buddy Matt Price over here who can help you out. But no, seriously, Jeff, shoot me an email, and wow, that's wild. Look at that. Good night. So this is my uncle Jeff, who is, I think, one of the best photographers, definitely one of the best sports photographers out there. He actually travels around the country and trains people on how to do sports photography. And and Jeff, since you're the only one on here, I can say this: you are my favorite uncle. Okay, now don't share that, but you're my favorite uncle. Okay, let's see here. But yeah, it's interesting because my uncle actually brings up something here as a merchant, as somebody who is a business owner, that he's getting ripped off, and these people, when he's trying to cancel his accounts, are charging him all these fees and all this nonsense. Jeff, I would love to go to bat for you. Odds are I probably know the CEO of the company that you're talking about, and I would be glad to go to bat for you there. So shoot me an email or a Facebook message, and we'll take care of that for you. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Jeremy says, what do you do with a statement once you get it? Do you take a picture of it after you get the effective rate and then scan it as a PDF? Do you send yours in for analysis, Phil?
So it depends on the amount of volume they're doing. If I'm working with a large merchant, I always send it in for a cost analysis because it's too important for me to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Little smaller merchants, especially if they're on tiered pricing, sometimes it is hard to do what I do because I don't necessarily understand. I don't know if you have the same understanding of the industry and how their statements work. So a lot of the times I don't send them in for cost analysis because I understand interchange, I understand tiered pricing, and I understand interchange plus pricing, and I'm able to identify those things on their statement. So it makes it a little bit easier for me because I know how to explain it to the merchants where I can close them on the spot, and I don't have to send it in for a cost analysis.
Yeah.
But if you're not there, the absolute first thing you do is send it in.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple different ways you can do that. A lot of merchants feel more comfortable with you scanning the image on like an app on your iPad or whatever your tablet you're using or your smartphone. I personally use TurboScan. It's a very, very good scanning app. And
you leaving with their statement makes people nervous today.
Yeah, perfect case in point. I stopped into a nail salon, and the owner was Asian. There was a little bit of a language barrier, and there's always that trust barrier when you first walk in and speak with a merchant. This was my first contact. I spent about 20 minutes with this guy because of the language barrier. He was very uncomfortable. Even after I explained to him, the only information that's on there is his merchant ID number, his name and address, and that's the only information that's on there. He still did not want me to take the statement home. So I said, let's do this. I grabbed a magic marker from his little cup that he was sitting there with. I handed it to him, and I said, cross out whatever information you don't want me to have.
Yeah, I've done that so many times. I love that.
And then I simply took the pictures of I took the picture of the statement with the TurboScan app. I was out of there.
Yeah.
Done and done.
Yeah. Scott Garrett says, I want to sell and close over the phone. Any advice? Scott, my advice is going to be to contact Matt Price and jump on his team. Matt at transactionexpert.com. Do you still have that? Okay.
I believe so.
All right. Matt at transactionexpert.com. Scott, just email Matt. And again, this is one of those things where literally if you have the right partnership, you're probably going to make double the sales.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
But it takes an initial investment, financial investment.
Okay.
It's not something where you can just simply pick up the phone and start making money.
There's stuff you got to get. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. How do you guys organize your contacts? Do you have a top 100 list that you use? Total number of businesses you keep in your CRM? How often do you reach out to them, et cetera, et cetera? So let me answer this, and I'll let Matt answer this one. because we got a couple minutes and we got to be done. So Byron, me personally, I am all about the hustle. I'm all about, I contact all of them all the time. Basically what I do is this: when I have a contact, every time I have a contact, I determine when a next action step would be. Mm-hmm. I put that into my system and I take that next action step. And when I take that next action step and I'm done, I determine what my next action step would be. And again, for me, many times that's going to be social media. I add them to a list on Twitter. I put them into a folder on LinkedIn. I put them into, a tag or something where in my CRM, I'll tag what their Facebook is. And then I'll be like constantly reaching out. So I'm more up the social media thing, but also kind of with this as well. So I don't know, is there anything you'd like to add to that? Or
a lot of them I actually personally follow up with by phone, but I separate them into different categories in my CRM. I have a 2-week callback, I have a 1 month, I have a 3 month, and I have a 6 month. So I label them into those different categories. I obviously leave myself detailed notes so that I know what the conversation was and I know why I'm going back.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Uncle Jeff, I just saw your other message here so that's fine. I'll follow up with you. Let's see here. What do you say to a merchant who shuts you down as soon as you say credit card processing, like, no, not interested? I mean, I can answer this, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, James, I understand that I'm not the first person to come in here and speak to you about credit card processing. What I can tell you is that I'm not here to waste your time or my time. And if you'll let me take a look at your statement for 5 minutes, I promise you I'll teach you something that nobody's ever taught you that's walked in here.
Awesome line. Wow. Well, that'll be on the recording, so we'll listen to that one again. Google Drive. Yeah, that's a good tool for that too. Let's see. I got 2 more questions, and then we're gonna have to be ending in here because I'm technically on like a vacation. This is like a vacation for me.
Yeah. Not that James ever really takes vacations.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. I should bring Christina back here, and she could vouch for that.
Yeah, that might be another hour long.
Yeah. We don't want to do that on here. Not live. That's not good. No, I'm just kidding. Christina's super supportive and amazing, and I do try to unplug, once a year. Let's see here. Do you consider large? I'm gonna have to. You know what, Charlotte? Email me that one. Yeah, John's left like a copy of his driver's license as collateral to get the statement. I've done that before. That's a little. All right, let me show you one thing. You ready here? And then I'm done. And then this is the contest here. So I got my Snapchat pulled up. If you're listening on audio or whatever, go to Snapchat and look for CC Sales Pro. I am loving Snapchat, so I want to do a little contest for you. So next week, I am going to have another one of these special kind of VIP events for salespeople who are wanting to take a look at this new web app that we are developing that is going to solve a ton of problems in terms of doing the statement analysis and doing the paperwork so that you can work with whatever processor you're working with and just really simplify things. I'm getting feedback. And so what I'm going to do for you is I already have my list. It's only about, I think, 20 salespeople that I'm inviting to be on that special kind of event where they're going to get a sneak peek at some really cool technology. Here's what I'm going to do for you. If you add me on Snapchat, by Monday morning, I'm going to send the link out, and I will also send it out to you personally on Snapchat, and I will send you the link so you can join us. So if you want to get that, you've got to go to Snapchat. Some of you are like, well, I've never used Snapchat. It is amazing. Watch a 3 or 4 minute video on YouTube about how to use Snapchat. It's super, super easy. I share tips on there every single day about how to sell. When I go out in the field with the rep, I record stuff. I mean, I'm on there constantly. You can send me a snap, out in the field. Hey, I just left this merchant location. Here's what they told me, that kind of thing. And I'll respond back with a video. I mean, I do it all day long right now, and I absolutely love it. So go to Snapchat, download the Snapchat app. It's not something you can use on your desktop. It's only on your phone. So download the Snapchat app and look for the username CC Sales Pro, or pull up Snapchat right now and you just hold it up and take a picture of that little like a QR code with my face that Matt has told me looks evil.
I mean, he looks evil, right? Can we take a poll real quick? Can somebody just type Y? If you think James Shepard looks evil in his Snapchat picture, do me a favor, go down to the question box and just type yes or no.
Yeah, yes or no. Do I look?
I have to see this.
Because I cut the bottom of my goatee off, so I've got kind of like a little bit of like a Hitler / barbershop quartet thing going on.
You really do look like you're planning to take over the world right there.
Well, and I am, so maybe that's an accurate portrayal. I don't know. Yeah, everybody is saying yes. So Matt has vindicated. Anyway, well, hey, I'd like to say a special thank you to Matt Price.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I know everybody on here now. Thank you, by the way, because they're all going to be on Twitter, on Facebook, on Snapchat. When is this course coming out? So get this course done, please.
It will be done.
And then we'll share that, and we'll get everybody. I know everybody's going to want to be a part of that. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much. Hope you guys and gals have a wonderful weekend. I will be, as unplugged as I ever am, this weekend, which is very little. And so I'll probably only Snapchat 15 or 20 times. And anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But hey, I hope you guys hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you again soon. We'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend, everyone.